everyone, welcome back to RTS and welcome back to another counterfeit kit video. Yes, now this is not a counterfeit kit challenge per se, but it's a challenge I wanted to do for myself because I want to keep playing with this kit, okay? Yes, it's fall time, want to keep playing. And so I think what I'm going to do today is I have this photo here that has been my inspiration, and I want to do this because it's a pretty photo, and I'll talk about that in just a minute. So that is my inspiration, and of course I have my stickers here, and I have a piece of corrugated brown paper. And I had this here because I wanted to say when you're building a kit, playing with a kit, creating with a kit, if you find other things in your space, there is nothing wrong with adding it to your kit as you go along playing and creating with your kit. Yes, if you see something and it makes you think of that kit you just created, add those products to it. Yes, yes, yes. Okay, so I'm going to move those stickers out of the way because in this start to finish video, I'm going to do something a little different. A lot of my subscribers had asked me about mood and feel lately, and I thought that's what I would talk about because that is the definition of me and my style is mood and feel. Actually, to be honest, I think mood and feel is probably my personality. Everything creates a certain mood and everything creates a certain feel. Sometimes people create a certain mood and create a certain feel. Sometimes that's good, sometimes that's not good, but that is just my personality, and so that's reflected in my pages. Okay, so I will talk about that down the road. I have a video I have on my to-do list talking about how your personality reflects your style and how that style is reflected on your pages. And we'll be talking about that in the upcoming months. So what I wanted to do today is I wanted to go over a little bit about mood and feel. And of course, you know what I say with a lot of supplies and style and concept and design, there is no wrong way, just your way. Okay? And so when I show these, please know that you just can't go wrong. You absolutely cannot go wrong. So the inspiration I have today for my start to finish is this beautiful photo that I snapped in Amish country one day a couple years ago, and it was just, you know, one of those things you go around a bend, you see a picturesque scene and you snap it, and you know, you get what you get. And this turned out just a very beautiful photo. And I didn't do any editing or anything, so even my husband said last night, he said, yeah, that's really nice. And I said, well, you know, I think I might take out that light pole there, and you know, I'll put it a little closer, you can see here. And he said, I think I want to take out that light pole. He says, no, leave it there because you're going to cut too much off. So I thought, okay, we'll just do what he says. I'll leave it there. Okay, so this is what I'm going to do. I'm doing a one photo layout today because there's something I'm going to show. So let's talk about this photo and let's talk about mood and feel and how you can convey that on your pages if you want to. Okay, you absolutely do not have to go by this. This is just something I've gotten a lot of questions because I do it a lot and I show it a lot. So let's talk about these three papers right here, and I'm going to do this one by one. Okay, and let's see how long before that paper goes sliding. Okay, so I have these three themed type papers, okay, because this was a fall kit, okay? So I have a plaid and I have some, you know, a foliage and more foliage. So let's talk about that one by one because that's what we're going to talk about today is mood and feel. So if I put this photo, and yes, I'm in frame. Everything's going sliding. Yes. Okay, so I put this photo here. I'm going to put it in the middle, and just, I want you to see examples, not that I would put my photo right in the middle. Okay, so with this fall plaid is absolutely beautiful with this photo. Why? It's because it's creating the mood and feel with the colors, okay? And then also to the design, which is the plaid. That's fall, okay? So you absolutely, and plus, you know, it's a fall photo. So anything that you have in your fall kit's going to work well, okay? But we're talking mood and feel. So we have the plaid and we have the colors. Win-win. Can't go wrong with that, okay? So now let's go to the next. And I have this foliage paper here, okay? And so you can see when I put that photo on there, okay, you can definitely tell that this again creates mood and feel because we're talking about fall. We got the leaves and everything on here is represented in that photo, okay? Now the colors are a little bit more brighter than in my photo, but it still works very well, okay? Now let's go to the next one, okay? So the next one, again, I have another foliage. And everything that is in the paper is represented in the photo, but this particular paper matches more of the tone of the colors you find in the photos, okay? You see this green and this yellow? That is what's represented on the paper, okay? So again, I just showed three different papers, three different themed papers, 3 different fall papers, and every one of those would work for this photo, okay? It's what you want to convey, how you feel, okay? And so that, oh, love all of that. Yeah, so those are themed papers, okay? So now let's go with something else, okay? Now let's go with, you know, something I had in my fall kit, which was wood grain, okay? So let's talk about all 3 of these, okay? We're going to talk about all 3 of these wood grains. Okay, so right off the bat, I have this light wood grain, and absolutely beautiful. You can't go wrong with wood grain. No, I think we need a t-shirt that says you can't go wrong with wood grain. Okay, now with wood grain, remember, you have 2 options. You can do it in the horizontal, or you can definitely do it in the vertical. Now, I want to give a little tip when you're using wood grain. Use a direction in your photo to consider the direction of your wood grain. So if you see the road in this photo, it's, you know, it's more of a, what do I want to say, more of a vertical. So my wood grain would look a tad better, but absolutely nothing wrong with that either. Okay, it's whatever you want. There's no right way. No wrong way, just your way. Okay, so with this, and this is actually a Christmas paper. Yes, it's a Christmas paper. Okay, by Echo Park. Love Echo Park. Okay, so you can definitely see that the photo is in the daytime, so this light wood grain would go perfect with this. Okay, so again, another mood. Okay, let's go to the next wood grain, which we just have a darker wood grain. Oh, talk about a pop. There we go. Is that not a pop of what? Oh, it's beautiful. Beautiful. Now there is the vertical and there's the horizontal. Oh, I love how that looks too. Again, can't go wrong. It's just whatever you like. Okay, so now with that, that's more of a richer brown. So it's going to bring in the more richer tones of the photo. Lovely. Okay, lovely. This is more, feels like, just feels like home, doesn't it? Just love it. Okay, now let's go with the next wood grain, which is the beautiful dark. And this was by Fancy Pants. Okay, look at that right there. Such a beautiful richness. Why? Because you have the contrast of the blue with this dark brown. Oh, beautiful. Again, do you see how just with those 3 wood grains, we created 3 different mood and feels? And so that's when I say mood and feel, that's what I mean. And it's how you feel. It's the mood you want to create. All 3 of those would be perfect. It's just whatever you choose to do. It's, you know, it's kind of like one of those things you go back and reflect on the day. Okay. Now I'm a light and airy type person. And so a lot in my pages, you'll see light and airy. Okay. That's why it's hard for me to use vintage and heritage colors in my pages, because that really doesn't match my personality. I had to challenge myself. But you can definitely see with these 3 degrees of wood grain, the 3 variations of color, each one of those created a different feeling, didn't it? And every one was beautiful. Okay, that's why I want to say you can't go wrong. Now let's talk about 3 other different types of pages that was in my kit. And so what do we have? We have a text, we have a gingham, and then we have more of like a, what do I want to say? A more, country store like. Okay, that's what I'll say. Okay, so let's talk about those 3. So of course with my photo I have this text. Love how that looks, because a lot of these words that's represented in here is what you would actually be seeing and looking at during this time frame and this place. You know, it was during fall and we were in the country, and so a lot of this was that's in the background in the text is represented in my memory. Okay, so I love when text can do all your talking for you. Yes, okay, so love that. Now I want to give a little tip when you're using papers with text. There's nothing wrong with moving your photos to highlight a line either above or below your photo. Okay, so you can definitely do that when you're doing placement of photos on text paper. Okay, so let's go to the next one. Love that. Of course, you know, I love paper, so I'm going to say I'm going to love them all. Now look at that. Mood and feel, baby. Mood and feel. You know, of course, the color's going to marry very well with the photo because of the green, but because it's a gingham, that's home, country, warm, cozy. We associate gingham with fabric, and fabric is something that makes us feel like home, okay? And, you know, and comfortable. So, of course, there you go. Beautiful. Beautiful. Okay, next one up. is that design that was more of a country store, general store, Cracker Barrel feel. Okay, now the reason why this works so well is because we are in the country, we are an Amish country, and so there's a lot of farms, a lot of markets, things like that. So you see that actually the words market and sunny day dairy, all of those are represented. So again, you're using this paper to create the mood and feel of where you were. Okay, so we have market, we have Elm Street, furniture company. Yes. Okay. So you see how this one piece of paper has 3 different market, furniture, and dairy, and that is reflective of where I was visiting. Okay. And what I was visiting. So again, mood and feel. Okay. So right there was 9 pieces of paper in my kit that would help me convey mood and feel. So what I wanted to show was that just by simply choosing a different pattern of paper can change your mood and feel just within one kit, just even within a collection kit that a manufacturer puts together. Okay, just simply using your different papers, using your different patterns, using your different colors. Okay, and also to your motifs, the wording, text, design, all of that can create mood and feel. It's whatever you like, honestly. Okay, so now what will I be using for my layout today? Well, you know, I had a lot of wood grain in this kit. And I have to use wood grain because if I have a chance to use wood grain and floral, I'm going to do it. So I'm definitely going to use some wood grain. And I'm also going to do something else to convey mood and feel on my page. So come back and you'll see what I decided to use from my Counterfeit kit to create mood and feel with a start to finish layout. Okay, hang on. I will be back with a finished fall page. Okay, I am back with my finished page and we're talking mood and feel, baby. Mood and feel. Yes, I think I need a tote bag that says mood and feel. So, in the previous segment, I had showed 9 different pieces of pattern paper that could be used to convey 9 different mood and feels on your layout if you would want to do that. So, what I had was, I had 3 pieces of themed paper, 2 were foliage, 1 was plaid, and then I had 3 different shades of wood grain, and then I had a gingham, a text, and like a decorative text type of page. Okay, so what I decided to do was to marry all 3 of those different types. Yes. So what I did was I used the wood grain, I used the text, and I used the foliage. Yes. So I combined all 3 of those different type of mood and feels for my layout because that is a big thing for me. And so each one of those, the wood grain, the green wood grain, and then I have this text here, which says all these different words that convey fall, and then also to the foliage, okay? And I'll talk about stitching in just a minute. So if you look at my layout, it looks like it's a complicated page, but it's a very simple page. It's because I utilized 3 things for my page. Basically 3 things. My title, which was a long title, but again, it was wood grain, and so then it goes with my mood and feel. And then I did stitching, of course, with goes with my mood and feel, fall, home, cozy, and then also my photo, okay, because the photo is part of the story. So you can see where the photo, this layout looks like it's a complex layout, but it's a very simple layout. It's just that I use mood and feel to my benefit. Now, I will say stitching took a little bit of time, but you wouldn't have had to do that. You absolutely could have did the same thing with a brown pen, okay, honestly. Okay, so let's talk about the page a little bit. And then we're going to talk about visual triangles, and then we're going to talk about stitching, and then I'm going to have a winner. Yes, so hang on. Okay, so with my background, I decided to go with the green wood grain because of the green in my photo, okay? And then I used the text because, again, convey more mood and feel, and I'll talk about that in just a minute. And then the foliage, of course, and I did the stitching. Now, on my title, it's a long title, but I absolutely love what it says, Postcard Perfect, because that's exactly what I thought when I saw the photo when I got back home from the trip. I was absolutely tickled with it. And so even my husband says, yes, that looks like a postcard. Maybe not the light pole, but that's okay, right? Okay. And then, of course, with all my stitching. So what I do with my stitching is I just used my brown DMC floss. I used a push pin. I didn't have a template. I just went by, there was veins that was already colored in on that paper. So I used the veins of the leaves to just pierce my holes, and then I just stitched it. Now with stitching, I said this in another layout, stitching to me is something you have to plan ahead, because if I turn this over, you don't see any stitching, okay? Because I only stitch through, and I gotta cover up the bread. I only stitched through one piece of paper, and that was this text, okay? Because if you wanted to stitch through two, you're gonna struggle a little bit. So make it easy on yourself and try to only stitch through one piece of paper if you can, okay? And then of course, then when you go to put this in the page protector, it's not gonna get hung up because of all of this back here, because there's a lot going on in the back of this piece of paper, the stopping and starting, okay? And I use washi tape to stop and start my stitching, okay? I don't knot anything, I just use washi, okay? And so it's a good way to use washi you don't care for. And then of course my photo, I have nothing on my photo, it's not matted or anything, I just have it on foam tape. Now I decided to do that because there is some stitching up around in here, because I didn't know quite exactly where my photo would be, so I made sure I had allowance in case my photo came down a little bit, and so I had to put on foam tape to accommodate for the stitching up in the corner, okay? And so then of course, if I cut down this text, on the back of this is a red wood grain, and so I used those two scraps and I used it as a grounding element for everything, because if I didn't, I needed everything to stop. And so these two pieces of scrap simply that was leftovers, I use as a grounding base for those. And then of course I have this little piece of green fence that was left over from another page, and this brown banner piece is where my journaling is going to go. So we're going to talk about stitching for a bit, okay? Now with my stitching, how long did the stitching take? Well, I didn't time it, but it was over the course of 3 evenings, and I would say about an hour and a half, maybe an hour. So at least 3 hours it took for this stitching. And it wasn't something I was in a hurry to do. I was just taking my time, you know, watching a ball game with my hubby. So I just do that when I'm spending time with him, watching a ball game. Well, not really watching the ball game. You know what I'm talking about. But I was doing the stitching. Now, when you do stitching like this, you have to know, this is a lot of stitching. So you would see the inner core of my paper when you do this much stitching. Now, what does that mean? Okay. And so, I'm sorry. I think I have to sneeze. Move on. Okay, move on. Okay, so I have a little example here. So in this little tag, I took an Amy Tangerine template and I punched a heart, okay? And you can see. Now, I didn't want to do the stitching because you couldn't see what I was doing, but pretend I had my brown stitching already did and it made a heart, okay? And so the fact that you see these holes, this is what happens when you bring your needle up from behind your paper. Your inner core of your paper will show. And for me, on this layout and here, the inner core is basically a white or an ivory, so it shows up, especially against my brown thread. Now if you were using white or ivory thread, it wouldn't show as much, but since I'm using a darker thread, when you push your stitch, your needle back up through your your stitch, you're going to see these holes and you're going to see this white core. Well, I don't want that. So after my stitching was done, I took a little stylus and I honestly went in here, and I didn't do it with every stitch, of course, but just the ones that stuck up, and I just pushed it back down. And so what you're doing is you're just taking that core and you're kind of filling the hole back in, is basically what you're doing, okay? Now again, I didn't do every stitch, but wherever I thought it was noticeable, that's what I did. And so that helps. Then you don't see that as much, okay? Now that's just something I learned over the years, because for this brown, I wanted the brown stitching to be shown. I didn't want to see these little pops of this white core of my paper. So that's what I did. Just took my stylus and pushed those holes back down. Again, you don't have to do it with every one, just where it seems like you notice it. Okay? That's just a little tip when it comes to stitching. Okay, so now let's talk about visual triangles, because I have quite a few on this page. Okay, so the first off is that on my title is that I have these, I would say they're like it's like this red wood grain, Okay, so I have this red here, and red here. So again, that makes my visual triangles, okay? Because I definitely wanted to use this red as a grounding base, and so to complete a visual triangle, and also to give a little starting point to my title, and then an ending point for my title. So I always say this, when you don't know what to do, look what you already did. I had this red down here, so I knew I needed to bring this forth up here, and so that's how I knew to choose that color red brad. It's like a cranberry red. Okay, so now let's look at my text. So of course, here's my title, and then come down here, I have 3 little word stickers here, and then I'm going to have my journaling, because my journaling is actually going to go on top of this brown mat. Okay, and I noticed that over the last few layouts, I can't actually show my journaling because you don't want too much personal stuff floating around. So I just basically show where my journaling is going to be, and it is actually going to go on top of this brown mat. Okay, and so then of course that creates my visual triangle with the text. And then of course I had, let's see, what else did I have? Oh, the green fence. Okay, so the green fence, and then the green in my photo, and then my background on my green wood grain. So right here down at the bottom, these 3 here, even though this is a background mat and you think it's a secondary item, no, it helps create my visual triangle. Because if I use this over here, it would create a visual triangle over here, and it would create a visual triangle on that side. Okay, and you could also see a visual triangle up there, but that's kind of stretching it. Okay, so then what else do I have? Oh, let's see. I have a little visual triangle down here with these 3 label word stickers, and they were from the Pebbles. That's what these are. I think I'm going to have a whole pile go sliding. That's what they were, those little word stickers. Okay, and so when I put one down here, if I put 1, it would have been lost. So I just did a little visual triangle of 3. Yes, okay. Now, what else I have? Okay, so with my title, you see I have a word here and a word here. So that's basically 2. And it's so long. I purposely, when I came down here, I needed a little finishing touch on my journaling tag. I pulled one of those little bits and bobs off my thicker sheet. And so then, of course, that wood grain and that same pattern makes a visual triangle. Okay? And then if you look here on the journaling block, I have a fishtail here that coordinates with this fishtail, and this fishtail again makes a visual triangle. So, you know, like I said, if you don't know what to do, look what you've already done, and then you'll know what product and color to use. Okay, now I wanted something else to come in down here to bring in a little bit of this color of this leaf, and so I used this Simple Stories brad pack, and so it had a brad that said hi. And so I decided to use that because, you know, when you're sending a postcard, what are you doing? You're basically saying hi to someone. So that's why I purposely chose that brand. I thought it turned out really well. Yes, okay. So I think that was all I had for my visual triangles, okay? But again, when I trying to figure out, okay, do I want a word sticker? Do I want a brad? Do I want an enamel dot? What do I want? I go with what I need for color, and then also too, I use the design or the motif that will help tie in my story. Okay, so now I want to show something that this page, again, may look complicated. It really isn't, because of the statement of the type of things I have. The title is long, the stitching is big, and the photo is just, well, the photo, you know. I really don't have any other embellishments other than word stickers and a brad and a piece of leftover, okay? So to make a great page, you don't need a lot of supplies, especially if you go by mood and feel and you go by color. You can get away using fewer supplies if you use the mood and feel concept. Okay, so that is what I wanted to say. And of course, you know, I got my photo corners in. And so why do I do the photo corners? Well, again, because I'm doing a mat, these photo corners basically is a directional type element that brings your eye in, and so then you know where your eye needs to be centered. And that's why I like using photo corners. Again, I got that from Jen Gallagher way back in the day. Okay, so I want to talk about one more thing, and that is in my last start to finish video, I think it was a Disney page, yes it was, that I had showed that I used my thicker alignment guide, because that is exactly how I used my title. I used my large arch of my thicker alignment guide. So easy to do that way. I loved it. So as I was building my page and I put my letters on here, I just left them on there till I was done with my stitching and done with my adhering everything, and then I just left them on that for a few days. I mean, it was just perfect. It really was a perfect way to do that. So in my last start to finish with my showing this, I had a hidden giveaway, and so I absolutely wanted to say who that was, okay? And so I made sure I went by who left a word starting with the letter M, and so the winner is Suze561. So Suze, if you see this, put your email in the comments below and I'll reach out to you and I will get this thicker alignment guide sent to you. Yes, okay. So that is what I wanted to make sure I said who that giveaway winner was. No sense creating a video just for that. No, because I used the same product again in this one. Love this set. And some people were saying they were finding this at Tuesday morning in Hobby Lobby for a couple bucks. Wow, you talk about a steal. Yes, even at $10, this is a good deal. But to find it for $2.50, yes, sign me up. Okay, so that's all I have for this start to finish. And again, also talking more about mood and feel. I hope that answers a few more questions about mood and feel, and I'll keep showing that, okay? Because it doesn't matter what season you're doing or what topic you're doing, mood and feel is everything. Yes, you can convey it on every single layout you do. Okay, so that's all I have for today. Thank you so much for all the wonderful comments and encouragement I get on a daily basis. You gals have no idea how much that means to me. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. Yes, absolutely. So come back to RTS because you never know what we're going